Hey, Jermaine. Yeah, because right now, like, it's showing me on the Facebook Live, um, and but when I think I don't know what's wrong with this thing, honestly. Yes, so I hit start streaming, start recording like I always have. Then I went and clicked go live. Then it popped up with a video feed, but then that's it. Like when I try to scroll down, there's no options to like end the video stream or anything like that. Yeah. So I don't know why it's doing this. So I clicked go live, and then it popped up.
So let me see the little window
The OBS.
on no on Facebook Live. I want to see that it's showing you. Yeah, it should be in the bottom right corner. I should be able to see you.
Yeah.
Did you add a title and information on the left there?
Yeah, I did. I added West Point admissions.
So scroll down for me and let me see where it says go live in blue, or is it gray?
It's gray. Here, let me. I'd added a description. Say something about this video. Okay. All right, here we go. Now it looks to be working. Like the button turned blue.
It turned blue now.
Yeah. This is why I hate
let's see if it goes live.
Okay, I'm about to hit the go
Is it
live.
starting?
I'm hitting it right now. Then I'm gonna hang up. All right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Just a second.
It's already recording
And then-
and streaming on
Okay.
OBS. Should I start that over?
No, just keep going. You're on.
Okay.
Just start the breakdown.
All right, here we go. Bye.
Alright.
All right, Xavier, you ready? All right, good evening, everyone. I hope everyone can hear me. Sorry we got started a little bit late. We're having some technical difficulties. Let's see, I think we still have people getting on. So we'll just give them a couple of minutes. Once we get a few more people on, we'll go ahead and get started. So first of all, I wanted to thank each and every one of y'all for joining us tonight. We're very excited to be able to tell you about West Point, what we have to offer, and how to get you into West Point. So we're just going to give this just a couple more seconds. So I appreciate your patience. All right, so we'll give this one more minute, then we'll go ahead and get started. Okay, all right. Well, good evening, everyone. My name is Captain Isaac Wary. I'm one of the admissions officers at West Point. And we'll go ahead and get started. Normally, I like to see where everyone is from and just to see which state everyone is tuning in from, and to hear about why they're interested in West Point. But since we're running a little bit late, we're gonna go ahead and get started. All right. So this is an agenda for this evening. We're going to talk about the West Point experience. We're going to talk about what West Point has to offer. We'll talk a little bit about West Point and its history, and then we'll go into cadet life and the application process. So we have the privilege of having Cadet Xavier Williams. He'll cover the cadet portion. So you'll be able to hear from a current cadet what life is like, or what cadet life is like at West Point. All right. So, as most of y'all know, West Point, what is the West Point experience? So West Point is about creating our core mission is to develop cadets into leaders of character. And that's primarily for our Army, but of course, leaders are needed in every aspect of any career that you can think of. So you can find West Pointers all over the place. But that's what we do here at West Point, is we develop leaders of character. And like I stated earlier, so our mission is to educate, train, and inspire the Corps of Cadets so that every graduate is essentially a leader of character prepared to serve our great nation. And that's what we're going to hone in on during this brief, is service to our nation, and how West Point does that. So the West Point experience, it's a challenging experience. So that's how you grow to become the leader that you're supposed to be, is you're put into an atmosphere where you're challenged not only academically but also mentally, and you're also pushed to your physical limits. And so here at West Point, you will receive a fully funded education, and you graduate with a Bachelor's of Science degree in a major of your choice. And so often I get asked as an admissions officer, is there a scholarship, or how can I apply for scholarships to West Point? So we don't have any scholarships. Everyone that attends West Point is here essentially on a full ride scholarship. Depending on how you want to view it, you will pay that full ride back through your service. But to me, I think that's definitely a bonus. But as part of that, quote unquote full ride, your tuition is covered, completely covered. Your room and board, your books, medical care, dental care. And you even receive a monthly stipend. So I don't know how many of y'all know of schools besides the service academies that pay you to attend school. And then that also includes other things. I know when I was here as a cadet, haircuts were covered, dry cleaning, laundry, computer services, whatever it is that you needed, it was pretty much provided to you. So when you're here at West Point, you can fully focus on being developed into the leader that you're supposed to be, and you don't have to worry about anything else. So West Point, as you can see, you can Google us. We will appear on pretty much any magazine, college magazine that you can find of. We have very good ratings, and I think, as you can see on this list, a lot of these speak for themselves. But a couple of the ones that really stand out to me are most accessible professors. We're consistently ranked in the top 2 most accessible professors. And I'll kind of give some anecdotes of my experiences when I was here as a cadet. So, for example, I had a professor that his name was Colonel Root, and I think this is just an example of many professors that I had that would do something like this. But on the first day of class, he gave everyone in the classroom his personal phone number and his personal email address, and he told us, if you're having any issues, please give me a call. I don't care when it is. I don't care what time of the day it is. You should not be failing my class or struggling in this class because you don't have access to me as an instructor. And there were multiple occasions when I would call him, whether it was on Sunday afternoon or on Saturday, and he would stop whatever it is that he was doing, because he lived on post, like a lot of the professors at West Point, and he came and gave me the additional instruction that I needed to be able to do well in his class. All right, so what do we offer here at West Point? So when you graduate, you will commission as an officer in the United States Army. And so we have 100% job placement. And as you can see towards the bottom, that kind of outlines the starting salary, about like 60 to 70,000. And that also includes a bunch of different benefits that you get as being a member of our great Army. So these are the different jobs that you can become a part of. So we call them branches. So there's 18 branches in the Army. You can see the list over here. And these are just the jobs that you'll commission into. After you've had some experience, there's some other subsequent career opportunities that you can take advantage of as well. So if you want to be a special operator, or if maybe you want to become a lawyer, we have a program where you can become part of the judge advocate. And then there's also a bunch of other different career fields that you can branch into after you've gained more experience in the Army as well. So for example, myself, I'm an ordnance officer. It's one of the 3 logistics branches. Okay, so now we're going to talk a little bit about West Point. So as you can see right here, this is the beautiful West Point campus. We were established in 1802, but our history dates back prior to that. We were actually the West Point, before it became the United States Military Academy. It was a fort during the American Revolutionary War, and it was chosen as a strategic location by George Washington. And so the history here is really amazing. So if you love history, you'll definitely love walking around campus and seeing the different sites. Even if you're not a big history fan, I think you'd find the West Point campus really incredible. So we're the first military academy of the military academies that are here, and West Point has kind of set that foundation that all the other military academies are built on. So our curriculum and how things are done. West Point was the first one to do all of that, and we were established as the country's first engineering school. Thomas Jefferson in 1802 saw that our military needed more engineers, and we didn't have a university that focused on engineering, and so that's why West Point was established. And so we've been around since, and as you'll see later in the briefing, as we'll talk about the curriculum more, we still have a heavy emphasis on engineering for that reason. All right, so this is as you can see in these pictures, these are some of our graduates that have graduated from here. As you can see, not everyone in these pictures is in uniform. Yes, the number one reason for our existence is to produce those leaders of character that will go out and serve in the Army. But leadership extends beyond the Army as well. And as you can see in these pictures, we have graduates that have gone to play in the NFL, go to the moon. We have Coach K. I think everybody who knows what basketball is knows who Coach K is. We have produced CEOs, presidents, senators, you name it. Pretty much any industry that you can think of, we have a West Pointer there. Okay, and so how do we produce these leaders of character? So as you can see right here, we have 4 branches that are dedicated to developing cadets. So we have the academic branch, where you go to class and you receive the training and everything that you need in class so you can graduate. We have the physical pillar, where you'll be developed physically. We have the military pillar, where you receive the leadership and military training that you need so you can be successful after you commission. And then we also have a character pillar, which is kind of entwined into everything that we do. All right, so now we're going to cover the cadet life portion, and Cadet Xavier Williams is going to cover that for us.
All right, how's everybody doing? So I'm super excited. My name is Cadet Xavier Williams. I am from Fayetteville, North Carolina, and I am excited to talk to you about the West Point cadet life. A little bit more about myself. I'm a part of the class 2020-22. I'm a junior here, so I'm a cow, as we like to say here at West Point. I went to the preparatory school before coming here, and I spent a little bit of time in the Army as well. I'm currently a politics major. Enjoy the current climate in the United States is very interesting to study in the political realm, so I'm very, very interested in that aspect of West Point right now. I'm also on the men's boxing team. Every cadet here is going to participate in some athletics at some point in their time here. And yeah, I'm super excited to talk to you guys about West Point. If you have any questions about the cadet way of life, please drop them in the chat, and I look forward to answering them. So being a cadet. So there's 4 levels of being a cadet here, 4 class levels, just like any college. Your freshmen are plebes. So plebes come in after that great summer of learning how to march, how to talk, how to act. What does a cadet look like? How do you address a cadet? Upperclassmen, lowerclassmen. Your plebe year is meant for you to follow and learn the ways of becoming a cadet. The best leaders are once great followers. And to be honest, your plebe year is probably going to be your easiest year out of all your years, because you just got to do what you're told to do. Your yearling year or your sophomore year is when you start to get a little bit more responsibility. You're taking charge of 1 plebe, 1 or 2 plebes, depending on who you are, and you're making sure you're teaching them the things that you learned last year. And that can go from anything from calculus, which I might not be the strongest help in, to shining shoes, which I can help in a little bit better. So making sure you have your different categories and working in. Then you get to your 3rd year, which is your Cal year. That's where I am now. We are the NCOs of the Corps, if you like to say. We're in charge of instilling discipline. We maintain the standards of the Corps, where our seniors, the firsties of the Corps, lead the Corps and tell us what to do. These are your commissioned officers and sergeant majors of the Corps, all the way up from the first captain, who's in charge of all 4,000 cadets, down to company commander or PL, who's just in charge of 30 cadets. The seniors really make things happen on campus. And I look forward to being one next year. They have about 62 days left till they graduate. So 62 plus 365, that's where we are. But that's our class structure. The gentleman that you see in the picture is a senior. You can tell by that red sash. We know the story, Approach the Cadet in the Red Sash. That's a senior cadet here, maintaining the standard here at West Point. And it's an honor to be to wear that red sash one day. So a typical day at West Point, 0520, first alarms are going up. I'm going to talk as a plebe, so most of you guys are coming in as freshmen. What does that day look like? So you're getting up in the morning and conducting orderlies. Orderlies are just as they sound. You're getting things in order for the day to begin. So you're coming in, you're cleaning the restrooms, getting the trash together, taking out laundry for upperclassmen, and you're also going to prepare them by calling minutes. So right before that morning formation, which is about 0710 to 0715, depending on the day, and if we have a uniform inspection, it might vary just a little bit. You're going to be eating breakfast beforehand. You're going to be getting everything ready for class. Your uniform is squared away. You're going to call minutes, which is practically just a loud alarm for the upperclassmen to wake up from their room and let you know, hey, we got everything in order. We're ready for you guys to come out. We're ready for our days to begin. We're ready for formation to happen. It's a tradition. At first I was like, come on. But as I went through the process, it's pretty cool. And now that I'm on the other side of it, I'm very grateful as upperclassmen to have plebes kind of waking you up in the morning time to make sure you're good to go. So you start that tradition. Everything is rocking steady. You go down to formation, breakfast before or after with COVID standards now, depending on when you can go in. And then classes start. Classes go from 0750, depending on your schedule, all the way to around 12, where you'll go to lunch. Lunch, on a typical non-COVID standard, we will all gather in the mess hall. And it's the most beautiful thing you've ever seen. At one time, 4,000 different cadets will get together, and we'll all eat in the span of 10 to 15 minutes. We'll sit down together, we'll talk together, we'll get to know each other, we'll get back up, and we'll dismiss and go back to classes, with the seniors leaving first, leaving the plebes to leave last. So beautiful tradition here. It's magical to watch it all happen and get done. Go back to classes from 12 to about 4:15. 4:15, every cadet is an athlete. Every cadet goes and participates in physical fitness and getting developed for the day, and that ends around about 6 o'clock. So 1800. At 1800, dinner is open and optional for everyone to go through. And from 1800 to 2330, so 11:30 at night, you're eating food, you're studying. Plebes are being left alone at this time. Upperclassmen are doing work. Plebes are just getting prepared for the next day. 23:30, you need to be in your room at least. And then you kind of Charlie Mike, continue mission. You keep doing work and preparing yourself for the next day. And then you rinse and repeat. Wake up the next morning at 0520, 5 days a week. Small class sizes. So I really enjoy the class sizes. It's a benefit because your teachers can hold you accountable. They make sure you understand what needs to be done. But also it can catch you because if you don't do what you're supposed to be doing, it's only 15 people in the class and they can definitely see you doing that. So make sure you have your stuff put together, but the teachers know you by heart. They know your name, your strengths, your weaknesses, and it really makes you the best student. 30% of our civilian professors here bring a different perspective. I know my politics teacher is a civilian and brings in that perspective, and it really humbles you. And you can talk about this military-civilian gap and how we can merge that and learn from each other. But most of them here are Army officers. Some of them graduated from this institution. Some of them took other routes to get to their officership, but I've learned so much from all of them. Talk to hear a little about student achievements. I'm on the boxing team, as I said. One of our captains right now on the boxing team, Evan Walker. She's currently the Rhodes Scholar this year, as well as the deputy commander. The first captain, I'll say the second captain in charge, Tyrese, he is also a Rhodes Scholar. So these guys are killing it and getting all these cool accolades. They're stellar in every category. So physical, military, leadership, and character. They're killing it in every category. So I talked a little bit about my majors. There's 36 academics majors out there. A lot of people come in with strong backgrounds and strong ideas about what West Point major they want to take. I came in with the same idea that I was going to be an engineering major. It's a lot harder here than I expected it to be, but that is to be expected here at this great institution. So I ended up going with politics after changing it a couple of times. So you can definitely change and put yourself out there. Along with these majors, there's minors associated. There's 15 minors offered throughout this institution. One that I was strongly considering was Portuguese. I never thought I would learn the language Portuguese, but there's some great opportunities to study abroad, and just minoring in that language made it a lot more useful for myself to potentially go and study in Rio or study in different parts of South America. So a lot of opportunities here. The 36 academic majors is a lot more majors than a lot of the other service academies offer. And I think that's just due to our deepness here with the Long Gray Line, how long we've been here, how long we've been adapting and changing. And as our military and armed forces evolve and change, so does our military majors. Since now you see Space Force as Space Science, as an option to major in. So your 4-year academic journey, your plebe year, as I said before, it's kind of written in stone. You're kind of told where to be. We have those fundamental classes, what time to be there, and it's kind of basic for your whole freshman year. Your sophomore year, you and your classmates are doing the same thing. That's when you take your calculus, your physics, your philosophy. I know you can see them there as well. These white spaces that you see are what we call military leadership classes. What makes United States Military Academy unique is we have courses implemented into our schedule to ensure that we're learning skills that will set us up for success as we become future officers in the United States Army. So in your Cal year, as we're advancing, you see a little bit more spaces, a little of those light gray areas, those opportunities for you to learn a little bit more and become a little bit independent on how you can be more yourself. So for me, those gray slots are filled with American politics majors and different categories that I can use there. Your senior year, the moment that we're all waiting for, have a lot more opportunities to grow and to expand because you have a lot more gray spaces to fill in with whatever you want to do. Currently, right now, a lot of my classes are filled with a lot of focus in African American political thought. So I took a great class recently with Major Harris, and we studied Du Bois and some great people out there who took small resources and made them useful and still got a lot of things accomplished in a time where it was hard to do so. So from a military standpoint, I can learn lessons from there. And then from a politics standpoint, I can also apply those as well. So don't forget as well, if you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. We look forward to answering them. All right, now let's talk a little bit more about the physical aspect. So, as Captain Ware stated earlier, there's a academic portion that we get graded on. I just kind of hit on that. You're taking those classes, you're grinding it out for most of the day, and you're trying to get to the sports side. That's where you relieve yourself most of the day as well. Let's get those pumping. There's so many sports here to participate in, and there's opportunity for everyone to come in and at least try out, if you're not recruited, to participate in a Division I basketball, football, lacrosse, cross country opportunity here at this school that not a lot of people have. Women's sports as well are very strong. We compete strongly in all categories, and I think if you have interest here, West Point has it. And if it doesn't have it listed here, there's definitely a lot more clubs. Boxing is not listed, for example. That is a competitive club sport that I think goes very well. And there's also some other sports here and there. One level I like to talk about is the company athletics. Probably the most competitive branch out of them all because of the core. A1, a company here, will compete against B1, for example, and they will go head to head in different categories and try to become the best company here at West Point in basketball, for example. They get a cool diamond to wear on their jacket to show that. So anyone here, any level here, wherever you kind of fall place, you'll find your opportunity here at West Point to participate in athletics and represent your company as well. And these are some of the club sports I was actually talking about. More to add on to club sports. I talked about boxing because that's the team I'm on, equestrian, fencing, judo, marathon, water polo. These are just some teams that I know my friends are on, and I can see the list here as well. So intramural sports, these are the ones you're competing amongst the core. Reg versus Reg, trying to become the best group here at West Point. Basketball, flag football, team handball, and submission grappling, just to name a few. So we hit the academic portion, we hit the physical portion, and now that military aspect of your GPA, how we're getting assessed, is kind of dominantly graded in the summer. So coming in, we all know about BEAST. That's the moment you guys are all waiting for right now, to come in and meet the cadet in the red sash, and they will not disappoint you. It will be a very interesting experience with COVID or not. It's about a 6-week opportunity, and as I said earlier, that's when you're learning the basics. That's learning your facing movements, that's learning how to salute. What does a day-to-day life as a cadet look like? You're preparing yourself in the summer to be as successful as possible physically and mentally for the year to come. After you complete your plebe year, you'll put on your yuck rank, which is 1 bar, and you'll be going to CFT. CFT is going to be similar as BEAST, but now you're leading in a team element, 2 to 3 people. You guys are going and traversing in the military and the forces outside in the woods. You're also doing obstacle courses in water, on land. You're interacting with your group members in a different level because you're preparing yourself to be able to come back to the core and lead the new incoming class as their team leaders. So now you have to test yourself in that level. Your junior and senior year, it increases. So you'll be able to go do leadership development opportunities here at the core. That's where you come back and you become a cadet in the Red Sash, for example, or you go to CCBT and become a member of that program, and you're assessed on that. There's opportunities for you to go into the Army and do an internship with a second lieutenant who recently graduated from whichever branch they entered into. And you can shadow and see what their day in the life is like for a few weeks and assess if that's the branch you would like to join. Is that the job that you want to have in the Army? And they will give you a grade in response to how you help participate with them. I've heard great stories about people just jumping right in and helping out a lot, and I've heard stories where they just kind of take lead, and the second lieutenant puts them in charge for a couple of days and they just see if they can do it. So it's a great learning experience, as well as other military qualification schools such as Airborne, Air Assault, Free Fall. There's a lot of opportunities here that equates to money that West Point has and resources that West Point has to give to their cadets to kind of set them apart before they enter into the workforce. So that was the military portion. Now, some cool opportunities also in the summer is just your bonding opportunities. West Point is very, very accessible and very well known internationally and globally. So there's a lot of opportunities, whether it be at the White House, congressional officers here, internships, which we call IADs, which are like academic in-house, in-state IADs, to semesters abroad in Brazil, China, France, and Israel. And then I talked a little bit about the military qualification schools. When you get into the institution, you'll be able to hear more about the different resources we have here, but there's so many. And not only do you get to go free of charge, they'll kind of pay you to go and represent West Point well at these different institutions and let them know how West Point is doing and give their view of West Point. So it's been great. As I said before, had it not been for COVID, I was trying to go to Brazil this summer, and it would have been a great opportunity. Those will be coming back hopefully next year, and everything with Charlie Mike and continue mission, and we'll get back out there in the force and represent West Point well. With that being said, that concludes my portion of the cadet life. I will now be passing it back off to Captain Ware.
All right, thank you very much, Cadet Williams. That was an excellent presentation. All right. Okay, so y'all are probably wondering, how do you get into West Point? So if you're sleeping, this is the time to wake up, because I'm about to give you the secret recipe to get into West Point. So these are our eligibility requirements. So you must be a U.S. citizen. You must be between the ages of 17 and 23. You must not be married, and you must not be pregnant or have any legal obligation to support any children. Okay, so the first step to opening an application to West Point is to complete the candidate questionnaire. So to get to that, you go to www.westpoint.edu, and on there you'll see it. It's one of the first things that you see. There'll be a link that you can click that will bring you to that questionnaire, so you can complete it. And this, as you can see on here, it just has some of the items that you will input in there, such as like identifying information about yourself, where you live, your test scores, and stuff like that. Okay, so when we're looking at our applicants, we're looking for well-rounded individuals. And so this is the secret recipe right here. So as you can see, 60% of the evaluation is academic, 30% is leadership, and 10% is fitness. And also, in addition to being eligible both from the academic and leadership and fitness perspective, you must also be medically qualified, and you must receive a nomination. And so we'll go more into depth in that in the following slides. Actually, I wanted to hit this slide hit on a couple more things on this slide. So for the academic portion, there's two main things that we're looking at. The first one is GPA, and then the second one is your test scores. So for your test scores, we accept either the SAT or the ACT, and we do super score. So what that means, for those of you that don't know, we take the highest subcategory for each test that you've taken, and we combine it to make a super score. But of course, it needs to be within the same test, so we don't cross between the SAT and the ACT. I sometimes get that question, so that's why I wanted to hit on that. Okay, and so for the leadership perspective, or for the leadership portion, what we're looking for, you can see outlined on there, the school official evaluations is one of those. So as part of that, you're required to get an evaluation from 4 teachers: a math, science, English, and a PE teacher. And what that does is it allows us to see how you perform in that classroom. They'll fill out a form on you as to how you perform in class, if you're a leader, just stuff like that will allow us to see what you're like in a classroom setting. Then you also receive an interview. So that interview is typically done by field force members. I know some of y'all have been working with your field force members. I know definitely the class of 2025 is very familiar with field force members. For the class of 2026 that's just now opened the application, you probably have heard from your field force members, and they'll be the ones that will most likely conduct that interview. And then the other portion that we use to evaluate your leadership potential is your extracurriculars. So really the main thing that we're looking for is things that show leadership, like propensity towards leadership. So for clubs and different things like that you can be a part of in school, we recommend that you try to take leadership roles in those clubs. So it's better to be a president of one club versus participating in 5 or 6 different clubs and not holding any leadership roles. And the same thing applies to athletics as well. So the majority of our applicants are varsity holders. But you, just like with the extracurriculars, if you can be a team captain or co-captain, that will make your file look a lot better than participating in 3 or 4 different sports and not having any leadership roles in those sports. And the final part of the evaluation is your fitness ability, and that's assessed through the Canada Fitness Assessment, also known as the CFA, and that consists of a 1-mile run, push-ups, pull-ups, basketball throw, sit-ups, and a shuttle sprint. And so I recommend that if you go into our website, westpoint.edu, you'll be able to see what that consists of. If you have a file open, you'll be able to see that information as well. And even though it's only worth 10%, it's still very important, and we require our applicants to submit videos for the pull-ups and the push-up portion. And so that sometimes can be a very difficult portion for some applicants, because our Department of Physical Education watches those videos, and we make sure that your form is to standard. So it's important that you, you know, take a practice CFA to see where you're at so you can work on those events. And the final thing that I wanted to touch on this slide is the application deadline is January 31st. So for the class of 2025, that window just closed a couple of months ago. And for the incoming class of 2026, the window will continue to be open till next year, January 31st of 2022. Okay, so as I mentioned earlier, you also have to be medically qualified in order to attend West Point. And so what that consists of is you make an appointment, and when the second step kit opens up, the second step kit will typically open up in the mid to late summer, and that will allow you to make that appointment. And so that appointment is made with a doctor that's certified with the Department of Defense Medical Evaluation and Review Board, and you have to be medically qualified by the deadline of April 15th in order to be considered for an appointment to West Point. And if you are medically disqualified, because when you go through that medical qualification process, you'll receive 3 different results from it. So you'll either be medically qualified, you'll be remedial, which just means that additional information is needed to assess your medical condition, or you'll be disqualified. If you're disqualified, it's not the end of the world. Waivers are offered on a case-by-case basis. All right, so the other thing that you have to receive is a nomination. And the nomination falls into 2 different categories. We have the service-connected nominations, as you can see on the left, and then we have the congressional nominations. So the congressional nominations, you are eligible for 4, or you should apply for 4 congressional nominations. That consists of your senator, both senators for your state, the senator or the congressman in the district that you live in, and you can also apply for the vice presidential nomination as well. So I encourage you to apply for all of these, and you can also, depending on you can also apply for the service-connected nominations, and you can see the requirements on there. So if you're children or a child of a career military, you're eligible to apply for service-connected nomination, or a child of a 100% disabled veteran, and you can see the list continues to go on. But the big takeaway is you should apply for all of the nominations that you're eligible for. Just because one of your parents served in the Army or in the military for 20 years and is retired, and you qualify for one of the service-connected nominations, does not mean that you will receive it. I think last year we had about 800 to 900 that qualified for it, but only 100 received it. So it's limited slots. The more pools you can apply into, the higher chances you have of receiving a nomination. Okay, so this is the strategy that you should utilize. As you can see throughout this slide, early is underlined, so be proactive and complete the application early. As I mentioned earlier, the second step kit opens up during the summertime, so don't wait till the end of the year when you're applying to the other colleges to complete the West Point application. It's a lot more labor intensive than typical college applications, so it's important to knock it out during the summer, especially when you have time before you begin going back to school in the fall. And as I already pointed out, apply to all available nominating sources, train for the CFA. With the CFA, get it done in the summertime. Nobody wants to go outside and run a mile in 20-degree weather when the winter hits. So take advantage of that. Study and prepare for the SAT and ACT. As you all saw in the earlier slides, 60% of the evaluation is your academic ability. So the SAT and the ACT, you can take those as many times as you want. So take advantage of that, study for it, and continue to take it till you need that score, till you receive that score that will make you competitive. And then continue to seek opportunities to demonstrate excellence in leadership, as we pointed out for the 30% of the evaluation. So challenge yourself, try out or compete to become to hold like a leadership role in your student government, whether it's president, vice president. We encourage you to do all of those things. Okay, so before you apply, you should ask yourself a few questions. Are you a leader? Do you have grit? Are you mentally and physically tough? Do you want to be challenged? And most importantly, are you interested in serving in the Army as an officer? If any of those questions, resonate with you, if it's yes, especially that last one, then you should absolutely apply to West Point. So we have what's called the Summer Leadership Experience. Essentially, it's a 1-week program where you come to West Point, and this occurs before your senior year. So for you current juniors that just open up an application, you have the ability to compete for one of these slots for the Summer Leadership Experience. And you can see the information on here. The application window is ending at the end of this month, and it will be 1 week during June. And this is an awesome experience. I didn't personally do it when I was applying to West Point, mainly because I didn't know about it at the time that I opened the application. But from everyone that I've spoken with, my classmates who did it, and from everyone that I've worked with the past couple of years, the admissions office that attended SLA has really enjoyed it. So I highly recommend that you apply for it, especially if you want to see if West Point is a good fit for you. Okay, so yeah, stay connected. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and you'll be able to find information about different events that are taking place. We hold multiple online events, and hopefully in the near future, when things calm down with COVID, we'll be able to continue to hold in-person events. And the way to see which events are being held where is to follow us on these platforms. And you can also find this information on our website as well. All right, so I know I've been receiving a lot of questions. So what I want to take the next 15 minutes to do is to just go through these questions and answer them. All right, let's see here. And once again, I do appreciate y'all tuning in. I know we had a couple technical issues, but I appreciate y'all sticking through them. I know we've received a lot of good questions. Wow, I know we've got some answers here, so I'm gonna just start scrolling through these and answering them. All right, I see one right here. It's from Zoe. As a senior next year, will it reflect badly on my application if I have an off class period? That's a great question, Zoe. No, that will not reflect poorly on your application if you have a period where you're not taking classes. So as long as you're hitting the main courses that we'd like to see our applicants take, it's like 4 years of math, English. If you have the opportunity with like math, if you have the opportunity to take pre-calc and calculus, definitely take those courses, because you will take calculus as a freshman. So it's important that you have that foundation before you take it at the collegiate level. And for science, take physics if your school offers that, because you'll take physics as well. But yeah, an off period will not hinder your application. All right, let's see what else we got here. Okay, so this question is, this one is coming from Meg. So my son attends the Military Academy High School, therefore ROTC. Does that qualify? So I'm not quite sure. I'm assuming that you're referring to a nomination. So if it's a Army JROTC program, or a JROTC program with honors that's not Army, then they'll qualify for a nomination through their JROTC program. All right, but great question. I'm just looking through these. Okay, so I see a lot of these have already received responses from the West Point team. Um, okay, is the West Point a good option for homeschoolers? Absolutely. Every year we have homeschoolers that apply and get into West Point. So yeah, you can absolutely apply as a homeschooler. Okay, so this question is coming from Ian. Is Latin acceptable to fulfill a foreign language requirement? Um, so we don't offer Latin here as a foreign language. I'm assuming that's what you're referring to, because as part of the curriculum you have to take a foreign language. Um, but we don't offer Latin as one of those languages. But if you've had the opportunity to take Latin at your school, I think that's great. I took Latin at the high school that I went to, and it's a great language, because a lot of the languages that are spoken today are based off of it. All right. When is the application deadline? So yeah, that's January 31st. All right, these are great questions. Okay, so this one is, at what age can one start pre-training? It's never too early to start training and preparing your file for West Point. So I think that the individuals that have identified West Point as a school that they want to go as early as like their freshman year in high school or even before that, it just makes it that much easier to see all of our requirements and make sure that you set yourself up for success in terms of your academics, extracurriculars, and athletics. All right. So this question is coming from Mickey. When will you know your service selection? So by that, I think you're asking when will you know which branch you've received. So typically you'll find out, or you will find out your first year or your senior year. You'll have exposure to all the different branches leading up to that, and your senior year is when you'll select. And we have a whole celebration, a whole tradition that we do for that. We call it branch night, when you'll be in there with your classmates and you'll all find out what branches you got, and it's a pretty awesome experience. All right. Oh, here, let's see. So is it possible to sign up for a campus tour? So we're not doing the traditional tours that we used to do prior to COVID, but you can come to our visitor center, and we'll do a bus tour. You receive a tour of the admissions, or you receive a tour of the visitor center, which has layouts of different parts of West Point, such as like a barracks room and stuff like that, and then it's pretty cool. But you can call admissions to set that up, or go into our website and make a reservation to come to visit. Okay, I think we're coming up towards the top of the list. So if y'all have more questions, please continue to post them. Okay, so I'm not seeing any more. Let me scroll back down to the bottom, see if there's any new questions. So this question is coming from Meg. What is a typical weekend like? So pre-COVID, I'll use myself as an example. So typical weekend, I was on the track team, so I would do traveling during the weekend for track meets and stuff when we're in season. But if we weren't in season, there's all kinds of different things that you can do. We have a bowling alley on campus that you can go to. The New York City is only an hour train ride away. So if you have, depending on your year, if you have privileges, or you'll be able to go into the city, family can come visit you. You can go to the movies, go go get some food at some of the local restaurants. So there's all kinds of different things that you can do over the weekends. All right, let's see. Okay, so I think this one was answered. Another great question from Lisa. Any decision in regards to whether the SLE program will be in person or remote? So that decision hasn't been made yet, but as soon as it's made, it will be posted on our website, and you'll be able to see whatever, if we end up doing it in person or if we do it virtually or hybrid. All right, so this question is from Sarah. How does it work with the SAT now that there's no more optional essay, since West Point used to require that to do the optional essay? So yeah, since the SAT and the ACT are no longer allowing applicants, or they're no longer allowing the students to take it with essay, we're not going to require it. We'll just assess the writing of that individual through the candidate statements and other portions of the application. All right. So this question is from Ian. When should I contact my congressman about a nomination? So that's a great question, Ian. You can actually go onto your congressman's website right now and see what their nomination requirements are, and that will allow you to start getting your packet together. So it varies based on the congressman. It's not as standard requirements across the board, but most of them require essays of some type. They're all going to want to see your resume, which will consist of like your extracurriculars, athletics, your SAT and ACT scores, and stuff like that. So the sooner that you can start putting that stuff together, it will make it easier to complete the nomination. But typically, most people will start the nomination application process in the summertime. But all of that information, you'll find it on your congressman's website, and it'll tell you when their deadlines are, and what kinds of things they're gonna expect you to submit in your application. But that's a great question, Ian. Okay, so this question is coming from Pam. Do you know where a person could participate in a practice CFA? Is there a specific site or date for them? So we don't hold any CFAs at West Point, but it really is pretty easy to do a practice CFA. If you go into our website, you can see the layout of how the CFA takes place, the order, how much stress you're supposed to get in between it, and it's easy to get a parent or a friend or someone to administer it. But when you take the CFA, when you take it in order to post it onto your file, typically it's a PE teacher that will administer the CFA. Okay, so this question is from this question is from Ricky. I'm considering joining the National Guard under the split training option, and I am 17. If I don't meet the academic requirements, what are the chances of getting into the United States Military Academy prep school? So it all just depends on your file. The application for the prep school is the exact same as the application to West Point. So it's the admissions officer that takes a look at your file, and if you don't meet all the academic requirements, but you have a strong leadership and you're physically fit, then your file could potentially be looked at for the prep school. All right. So this question is from Bill. What is the number one thing to do to get into West Point? So there is no specific answer to that. As you can see, your file depends on multiple different things as we're looking at your application. But I would say the things that carry the most weight, obviously the academic portion, that's 60% of the evaluation. So that one holds a lot of weight. and specifically the SAT and ACT. So if I had to choose one thing, even though they're all important, I would focus on doing really well on the SAT or ACT. But everything else is important as well. Okay, we're getting a couple more in here. So this one is from Sarah. The question is, I'd like to serve in Army Special Forces. Would West Point or schools like West Point be a good stepping off point? So actually, you're able to compete for Special Forces selection while you're at West Point, and that selection is good for 5 years. So, because you, as an officer, you can't become a special operator until you're a senior lieutenant, and so that will typically be about 3.5 years into service, and so then you'll be able to compete to go to the Q course. All right, I think that's about it. I don't see any more questions. Thank you again for joining us this evening. I hope all your questions were answered, and I hope that everyone has a good night.